Hello and welcome to National Focus. I'm Aliyah Martin. In the headlines, Prime Minister Skerrit addresses concerns on intra-regional travel. Dominica to continue building diplomatic relations with the Kingdom of Spain. And new foreign ties formalized with the Republic of Gabon. The details of the headline stories and more coming up. Welcome back. Prime Minister Skerrit says the loss of Liat has compromised regional travel. More on this report with Adicia Burton.
Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit deplores the loss of the regional Caribbean airline, Leeward Island Air Transport, Liat. Prime Minister Skerrit says investments in Liat were due to its significant role in intra-regional travel.
I hear people complain, including our own citizens, about how difficult it is to travel intra-regionally in Dominica. But I recall when I took the decision on behalf of the government to invest in Liat. The political opponents of this government and some people in this country criticized me for investing money into Liat. They were saying that how come Dominica is wasting money investing in Liat, and Liat is a failed company, it makes no profit. And I cautioned Dominicans. I cautioned those persons who were saying that. I say that if Liat doesn't come into Dominica for one day, we'll have a problem. We'll have a problem. And I recognize as the Prime Minister of the country the important and unprecedented role that Liat has played and was played at the time to intra-regional travel.
Prime Minister Skerrit noted that Liat cannot be easily replaced.
Liat was most helpful to Dominica, especially after disaster. And I do not believe that there's any other entity that can reasonably be expected to replace the functions of Liat in the region. And government's investments in air transportation in the region cannot be replaced by private sector investments only. The governments must invest in intra-regional travel. Because intra-regional travel for so many islands is really a public good. That while you want these entities to run professionally and greater accountability and greater transparency, there are certain things that you don't expect from them. You understand? Because they have to fly into areas that a commercial airline running as a private investment will not want to go into. You understand? And that's where Liat was important.
Liat was established in 1956 in Montserrat, but was acquired by 11 Caribbean governments in 1974. The airline facilitated intra-regional travel for several decades, but suffered massive losses due to a decline in intra-regional travel. Liat faced challenges when multiple Caribbean islands were devastated by hurricanes, leading to the disruption of the tourism industry. The COVID-19 pandemic made matters worse, and despite attempts to sustain the airline, Liat was liquidated in 2020.
We speak in this country from an emotional standpoint sometimes, and largely from a partisan standpoint. So everything Skerrit does, there'll be people who will oppose it, even if it is that they're thirsty and I give them a glass of water, they'll have a problem with that.
Prime Minister Skerrit thanked the Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, Gaston Brown, for his efforts to revive the struggling airline. Prime Minister Skerrit said Dominica is prepared to invest in another venture and called upon Caribbean countries to come together to address regional air travel. Adicia Burton for the Government Information Service.
Thanks, Adicia, for that report. Dominica and Spain continue to forge greater relations to combat the effects of climate change and other challenges. More in this report.
President of Dominica, His Excellency Charles Savre, has welcomed a new ambassador from the Kingdom of Spain. His Excellency Diego Bermejo Romero de Terreros presented his credentials on March 14, 2023. Since establishing diplomatic relations in the 1980s, Dominica and Spain have maintained warm and cordial relations.
I note Your Excellency's commitment to enhance the bonds of friendship and cooperation, which already exist between our two countries, through increased political contacts, better communication, and closer integration of our two peoples. Also worthy of noting is the realization of the need to explore additional areas of cooperation within both our countries within the framework of the European Union, of which Spain will assume the presidency.
The countries will focus on climate change, tourism, food security, and mitigating challenges of mutual interest.
These are key areas that are capable of mitigating the impacts of the major challenges being confronted globally. Your Excellency, I also note with interest the priority of your government to address the need to bridge the gap that exists between Latin America and the Caribbean and Europe during the Spanish presidency of the European Union. Also welcoming is Spain's pledge to further strengthen the stable, friendly, and strategic partnership between CARICOM and Spain based on the common values of respect for the principles of democracy, the rule of law and human rights, as well as the promotion of sustainable development.
Meanwhile, newly appointed Spain ambassador to Dominica, His Excellency Diego Bermejo Romero de Terreros, looks forward to strengthened relations as both countries confront the impacts of climate change and the ongoing Russian-Ukraine war.
There are many things that we can do bilaterally and within the framework of the European Union. We might work together on climate change, which has been the cause of so many natural disasters that have impacted your island. Tourism, which is also one of the most important sectors of the Spanish economy and your economy, and which we have a lot of experience. Food security, the fight against pandemics, and many other issues of mutual interest. Allow me also to remind that in the context of Brexit, Spain is the best partner possible for becoming the entry point for Dominica to EU and its markets.
Adicia Burton for the Government Information Service.
The Commonwealth of Dominica and the Republic of Gabon have established diplomatic relations. Minister for Foreign Affairs, Honorable Dr. Vince Henderson, and the Deputy Minister for Foreign Affairs of the Gabonese Republic, Herman Imongol, signed a joint communique on Tuesday, March 14, 2023. At the signing ceremony, which took place at the High Commission of the Republic of Gabon in London, Minister Henderson stated the commitment of the government of Dominica to build strong and enduring bonds of friendship with Gabon and with the rest of Africa. Minister Henderson assured Minister Imongol that this is the beginning of a new relation between Dominica and Gabon, and he welcomed the opportunity for both countries to forge partnerships and cooperation in areas of mutual interest, such as investment, tourism, promotion, initiatives in energy industry, and the building of more sustainable environments. A commitment was given by both ministers to further deepen relations with the signing of a visa waiver agreement in September of this year on the margins of the United Nations General Assembly. Minister Henderson took the opportunity to welcome and congratulate Gabon on having joined the Commonwealth in June 2022. Gabon is located on the coast of Central Africa with a population of 2.3 million. Minister for Public Works Honorable Fidel Grant says adapting to climate change is costing the government hundreds of millions of dollars. Julian Morris reports.
Extreme weather events caused by climate change has forced governments worldwide to go back to the drawing board. The minister says in Dominica, infrastructure has been hit the hardest. In recent years, communities have been cut off because of road failures and otherwise strong bridges washed away. In some cases, the road network has been severely undermined because of heavy rainfall and land slippage. Government has paid hundreds of millions of dollars to truckers and heavy equipment operators for clearing of roads following extreme weather conditions. Speaking at Monday's bi-weekly press conference, Minister Grant outlined some of the major projects being undertaken by the Ministry of Public Works, among them the Layu Road project.
The Layu Road project, an estimated $23 million. This project runs from the Hillsborough Bridge to the York Valley Bridge and is divided into two phases. Phase 1 is currently being implemented. The scope of works for Phase 1 has been amended to include sections of the road carded for Phase 2, thereby allowing for a continuous 4 kilometers of rehabilitated roadway. This was made technically feasible by realigning these sections of the road away from the river's edge, thereby reducing the vulnerability.
To date, the minister says Phase 1 has been substantially completed with the recent paving of the road. Road markings and signage will be completed soon. Government is currently undertaking estimates and assessments in preparation for rehabilitation of the section of road from the York Valley Bridge to the Sultan Warner Junction. The Lubia to Grand Bay Road and the Bridge Rehabilitation Project is among other major infrastructure developments. Segment 1 of that project involves a 1.5 kilometer stretch of road from Lubia to Snug Corner.
This will include 2 bridges, 8 culverts, and slope stabilization intervention. Segment 2, Snug Corner to Pichler, road length 6.2 kilometers, which includes 35 culverts, 12 slope stabilization interventions. Segment 3, Pichler to Grand Bay, road length 2.65 kilometers, 3 bridges and culverts. Recently, we had discussions at the ministry, and it is costing the government on average anywhere from $2.5 million to $4 million for 1 kilometer of road. And that is because of the increased rainfall and climate change. So it's important that the public understand the cost of these interventions. So we're looking at $2.5 million to $4 million for just 1 kilometer of road.
The minister says the interventions from the Lubia to Bagatelle Road will reduce the vulnerability of the road to future extreme weather events and natural hazards, resulting in improved safety for the motoring public. This project is currently in the procurement stage. Julian Morris, GIS National Focus.
Thanks, Julian, for that report. Member of Parliament for the Roseau North constituency has called on the newly sworn-in Roseau City Council to remain connected to residents in order to effectively advocate on their behalf. More in this report.
Honorable Miriam Blanchard was speaking at the 14th inaugural meeting of the Roseau City Council held on Wednesday, March 8, 2023 at the Goodwill Parish Hall. Honorable Blanchard stated that with the call for a national reset, Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit has ushered the country into a new era of transformation, guided by a call for a new approach to community and country development.
The reset can also guide the way you dispense your duties for the municipality of Roseau and its residents. It implies that as a council, you ought not to be content with continuing with the business as usual. Rather, you are called to engage in pragmatic approach to your tasks and responsibilities, always putting your people first. The votes you received in the elections may speak to your qualities as effective campaigners, but it is your work that you will do from today onwards that will set you apart as an effective leader. It is important, therefore, to appreciate the new demands as you take on this new role.
The Roseau North MP called on the council to remain connected and up to date with the needs of residents in the Roseau area.
I therefore humbly appeal to you to be current with the issues, the needs, and the potential of the municipality. As a council, you must be fully knowledgeable of the needs of the residents. I urge you to remain relevant by staying well informed on the various elements of your mandate. be action-oriented, quickly translating ideas into concrete actions. Be innovative, and where possible, employ creative and cutting-edge methods to get the job done. Your plans and programs must be based on this desire to embrace positive change and a willingness to go against the norm to achieve more for your constituents.
Her Worship Ermine Royer was sworn in as mayor for her second term, while 12 others were sworn in as councillors. Curvia John for the Government Information Service.
Thanks, Curvia, for that report. You're watching National Focus. More when we return. Welcome back. Minister for Finance, Honorable Dr. Irvin McIntyre, says Dominica is well on its way to becoming the world's first climate-resilient nation as government continues to invest millions in major infrastructural projects. More in this report.
The various projects currently being implemented by the government are an indication that Dominica's journey to becoming a modern and climate-resilient country is taking shape. This as major investments are being made into the construction of an international airport, the rehabilitation of the East Coast Road and the Layu to York Valley Road, and the construction of a geothermal plant in Loda. Speaking at the inauguration of the Roseau City Council on Thursday, March 8, 2023, Minister for Finance, Economic Development, Climate Resilience and Social Security, Honorable Dr. Irvin McIntyre stated that these projects are part of the Prime Minister's plan to reposition the country to maximize its economic potential.
During the last general election, Honorable Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit clearly articulated that this new government was on a path of reset, retool, and reposition the country to maximize our economic development potential and ultimately become the world's first climate-resilient nation. I can say to you today that we're on the right track. Just a few days ago, the heavy equipment for the construction of the international airport arrived in Dominica. And very soon, preparation of the site for construction will commence.
Dr. McIntyre says the other major infrastructural projects which are currently being undertaken are part of government's bid to build resiliency and increase economic activity.
We are also well advanced with geothermal exploration, the construction of resilient homes, and shelters to protect our citizens from severe weather and the development of our road network to boost economic activity. Over the weekend, you must have seen tremendous work being done on the East Coast Rehabilitation Project for works, and also the works done from Layu Valley up to York Valley. And then there are lots of work being done in my constituency regarding the National or Dominica Cable Car. So these are all these programs that have been going on and will continue to go on.
The Finance Minister stated that government will continue to make the necessary investments to develop the country, adding that it is up to the citizens to work with government and to take advantage of the opportunities being made available.
Your government will continue to find easier ways to build this country, but the responsibility of the citizens is to work with us and take full advantage of the opportunities that are being created. We must endeavor to be each other's keeper and work collectively towards the betterment of all. I believe that local government entities like your council can play a part in helping the government to achieve its development objectives. I invite you to keep in close touch with the work of the relevant parliamentary representatives to identify and tackle issues of common interest in the Roseau area.
Curvia John for the Government's Information Service.
Speaker of the House of Assembly, Honorable Joseph Isaac, says there are a number of improvements he would like to see become a reality for members of Parliament. The Speaker, who was the first guest in the new season of In the Studio, was responding to a question regarding what he hoped to accomplish in his new term as Speaker.
In regards to the administrative processes, we will work with the Leader of the House, that's the Honorable Prime Minister, and the Leader of Opposition, to really move further and further and strengthen the independence of the legislature from the executive and from the judiciary. In regards to the legal, in terms of the legal aspect, we are completely independent. But in terms of some of the processes and the administration of the House, we need to improve in those areas there. Case in point, for example, there are members of the House, parliamentarians. If they are ministers, they do not get any specific remuneration for being a pal rep.
The Speaker believes it is a matter which needs to be addressed.
Are you calling for a minister to still get the pal rep salary or an allowance to be a pal rep?
Yeah. The dynamics, I guess, the members of the House will have to actually determine what the details are. But for me, fundamentally, just morally speaking, I think it is not right. And that's something we need to look at. So if we focus on ensuring that the legislature is independent from the executive, I think you'll have a more effective governance system.
A resolution was passed during the first meeting of the first session of the 11th Parliament on February 7th and 8th, 2023 to have parliamentarians paid the day after they are elected or appointed as senators.
We reached where the resolution actually passed, but we had a little hurdle, a legal hurdle, where we have to change some of the language, the legal language. So that it's at the desk of the Attorney General, so we have to fine tune it. And maybe as we are in the 11th Parliament, we might have to bring it back to just reapprove the resolution and move forward.
A number of parliamentarians were appointed to various committees during the last sitting of Parliament. Honorable Speaker Isaac explains the role of the Public Accounts Committee.
For example, at the Public Accounts Committee, what is expected there is, after the government, that's the executive branch, that's cabinet, gets approval from Parliament. That's every year we have the budget address and the budget debate. So you have appropriation in terms of how much money you're going to get by ministry and by different lines. So once that is approved, the executive branch is expected to go ahead and implement. The legislature is supposed to monitor, and therefore we have an oversight committee which is called the Public Accounts Committee. And that committee is not really involved in the policy of the government. It's not to question the policy. The question is, was the money spent for what it was supposed to be spent for? And if it was spent, what kind of value are we getting?
The Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Blue and Green Economy embarked on a mission this year to meet with farmers and fisher folks across the island.
The team has met with farmers on the north, southeast, west, east and the northeast regions. The idea is to collect data from the farmers, assess farmlands, and work towards improving the farming conditions to increase production. This as government has set a goal to increase agriculture's contribution to the national GDP to $700 million by 2030. A number of initiatives, including the digitization of the sector, are currently being undertaken. On Wednesday, March 8, the ministry toured a number of farms in the Northeast region, to include a poultry farm in Concord, banana and cocoa production farms in Marigot, and a white potato, mixed crop and root farm in Kalibishi. Minister for Agriculture Honorable Roland Royer is confident that major developments will be recorded in the agriculture sector moving forward. Improvements to farm access roads remain one of the priority areas for the ministry.
We are fully mobilized and energized to see what difference we can make in the sector. It's an uphill task. There are a lot of challenges that this sector has been faced with. We will not see a difference overnight, but we'll try to see what we can do. We know in the Northeast we have seen investments in farm access over the past 2-3 years. We saw some of that today. There are many more roads that need attention. I could say we have a list of roads that we have shortlisted.
Developments have been noted in the area of farm access, with rehabilitation works undertaken on the Makato Feeder Road in Grand Bay, the Bopla Feeder Road and the Middle Ridge Road in Pebush, among others. Minister Roy says the Cafe Road is one of the priority roads to be assessed by the ministry.
There are other roads in the Northeast that will be given attention by an assessment, and as we continue to attract funding, they will be given priority as well. So the Northeast is not left behind. The radar is in the Northeast. We know that was one of the most productive belts in terms of banana production. And some of the farmers here were once banana farmers, and saying that you are still in the sector, that shows your commitment and resilience. So we appreciate your commitment and effort in the sector, because without you, there would not be a Ministry of Agriculture.
The cocoa crop plays an important role in increasing agriculture's value. Cocoa farmer Mr. Ferdinand Gore, who owns a farm with over 200 cocoa plants, made a call for farm labor assistance.
I want 2 persons to help me to pick, because so I pick and they will carry and put where it's supposed to break. Oh. Because I'm not breaking in the field, you know. I'm not breaking the cocoa in the field. I have a special place breaking the cocoa.
Okay. So labor is a little issue?
Yeah, difficulty. See, I alone sometimes 2 days I just pick cocoa. 2 days.
2 days.
Meanwhile, CMOS manufacturer Mr. Wilson Honoré has discovered a new byproduct which he hopes will propel the CMOS industry here in Dominica.
Not only we want to grow the CMOS for sales only, but we also want to expand into other byproducts. And luckily today I got my first video from the deep hair moisturizer that was produced from CMOS that came right here, to export it to my niece that is trained in biochemistry, and she have successfully produced the deep hair moisturizer, and I now have it on video. This week I was able to get her the lye, so that, and soon from now we will have our soap bar produced from CMOS, so not only to grow and sell, but we intend to go into manufacturing and to grow a company that is second to none.
Parliamentary Secretary with responsibility for agro-processing, Honorable Lakia Joseph, is passionate about the development of the industry, being an entrepreneur herself. Honorable Joseph is the sole proprietor of Nature Blends.
We do all of our exporting. We provide S-Mart, Fresh Market, Zeb Creole, Jolly's Pharmacy, Ash Beauty Store in Portsmouth, Savers Supermarket, and we deliver all across the island. We also sell on ShopDM and BuyDominicaOnline.com. We also sell on Jolly's.dm. So, Nature Blends. Oh, we have soups.
Your packaging market, you import them?
Right, no. So I actually do all of my designs myself. So from my logo down to my labels, I've designed all of them myself, and I print them at the Blush.
The Ministry of Agriculture team will continue their Meet the Farmer store in the Southern and Roseau Central districts over the next few weeks. All of this is in an effort to create an enabling environment for national food security. Kuvia John for the Government Information Service.
Thanks, Kuvia, for that report. The Dominica Association of Persons with Disabilities, DAPD, celebrates its 40th anniversary under the theme, 40 Years of Obstacles, Barriers and Other Challenges, Yet Standing. A number of activities to include an inspirational concert are being organized to commemorate this milestone. President of DAPD, Mrs. Irma Raymond Joseph, says the goal of the inception of DAPD was to promote and protect the overall rights and dignity of persons with disabilities.
4 decades later, we are here to proudly proclaim to the whole world that DAPD has survived the test of time. And on October 26, 2023, we'll celebrate its Ruby Jubilee.
Mrs. Raymond Joseph says the celebrations will highlight the accomplishments of the association over the past 40 years.
It will also give due recognition to the innumerable local, regional, and international counterparts, founders, funders, and governments, and disability advocates who played a major role in its sustainability. This press launch here marks the official commencement of this event. Activities will be both of an educational and social nature, with our continuing advocacy being of paramount importance.
DAPD continues to advocate for the inclusion of persons with disabilities amidst the challenges they are faced with. And that's all for this edition of National Focus. Be sure to follow GIS Dominica on Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitter. You can also drop us an email at gis@dominica.gov.dm. From all of us here on the GIS News Production team, I am Aliyah Martin. Thanks for watching and stay safe.